Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of The Grill, a Dessa Ladies talk show to feature women in the Dota 2 community that contribute in various ways. This month, we've got a really interesting topic about esports hospitality, and we've got Shannon Larkin. Hi, Shannon. How are you today?
Hello, I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's Friday. TGIF.
It is. Oh my God. It honestly could not come fast enough.
Yes.
We got King's Cup wrapped. We've got the boys out of town. I'm ready to have a glass of wine and chill.
Feel free to have one while we're doing this.
I should have grabbed one.
All right, so let's get right into it. So let's talk about a brief summary about your work history and your typical duties at events. So what were the major things that you handled at MCW events, and what are some of your typical responsibilities at Beyond the Summit?
So MCW is a full event company. So it's not just esports. They had a lot of clients. So I actually did a lot of different roles within MCW. So I started off as actually an intern. And then I was an assistant housing manager, so did a lot of block management, hotel contracting, a lot of the kind of customer service part of the job, and registration management, website build actually. So I actually learned how to code for that.
Wow.
We did, let's see what else, like some project management. So we did anything from events from customer conferences to a World AIDS Day benefit breakfast to children's justice conferences, which range from, a few hundred people to 16,000 people. And then you have, the majors and TI, of course, which is a lot of fun and a lot of fun working closely with Valve. So we're kind of their liaison and hospitality and logistic managers for some events, but on the other side of the events, like registration management, internet, all full service. Mm-hmm. BTS, it's more of the logistics and hospitality. So I do more of the housing, contracting, player, talent management, food, transportation, flights.
Everything.
It's pretty well-rounded, yeah.
Yeah, a long list of duties.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds busy, but it sounds very interesting because you do so many things. So. Yeah. How long have you been working in the hospitality industry? I know you said you started as an intern, but how did that come about?
So I've been in this industry for about 4 years now. And it's actually kind of interesting how I started. So my dad works for Valve, of course. So he's been there for 9-10 years now or so. And so Valve takes all the families on a vacation every year, just as a kind of a thank you. So when I was probably 15 or so was my first vacation. I met MCW. They were the ones that run the Valve vacation. So I met them when I was 15, really loved them, fell in love with what they were doing, thought it was really cool. So every year I'd go back and I'd actually just run up to the hospitality desk. I'd chat them up every morning before going off to see Hawaii and just kind of get a touch of what they do, make sure that they remembered me every single year, and always said, I'm going to work for y'all one day. And lo and behold, I went backpacking through Europe with one of my friends, convinced my parents to let me drop out of college, and got this internship with MCW. And it was supposed to actually be a year-long internship, but actually a couple months, or I think it was about a few months into it, I actually ended up getting a contract job with them, since they had been looking for other people to hire for this assistant housing manager position. I had tried to get into it, and they're like, whoa. You just started, this isn't probably your cup of tea just yet. You can work with them, but the hiring process just wasn't working out. And they're like, okay, maybe this is the universe telling us, this is yours. And so that's kind of what got me into it. And I've stuck with it ever since. I guess it's kind of worked out in my favor.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. You knew what you wanted to do, and you did it.
Pretty much, yeah.
That kind of goes into my next question, because you kind of already answered it, but I was going to ask if you were involved with esports before MCW events started working with Valve, or if that was your first exposure, but obviously, since your father works for Valve, you at least had some exposure. So were you ever really involved in keeping up with esports or anything like that? before?
I actually wasn't. I mean, growing up, I'd played video, like all of his games that he had mixed growing up, anything from Broderbund to Cyan. So actually, fun fact, when I was growing up, he actually had my brother and I kind of help him do sound effects, or I did a singing voiceover, I think, in a Dr. Seuss video game.
That's so
I
cool.
mean, I've grown up on video games, which is really fun, but I never really knew about the esports scene actually until he started mixing free-to-play. So the first time that I actually understood and knew what esports was he pulled my brother and my mom and I into I think it was like just one of the TV areas, and he's like, okay, I need your input on this, and he showed us like the middle clip of like the middle section of free-to-play, and they wanted to see how people who didn't know what esports was, how would they react and how would they understand this movie. And that's actually how I learned about esports. But even then, I was like, my brother's the video game player of the family, the nerd that would just sit around and play video games. Or, like I originally was. Unfortunately, like, I was so confused. I was like, all this esports talk, like people are actually, paying to travel to these events to watch somebody play on a computer. But then when I finally went to, I think it was TI3, and I went and I hung out there with my dad, and it just clicked for me. It was really, really, really cool, like to see all of these different fans from all around the world come and gather and watch their favorite teams compete. It's like a football game, honestly. It's like it's the Super Bowl of esports, and it was really, really cool to see. But yeah, so I kind of did esports, but I went to TI3 and TI4, and then I really got submerged, like TI4, TI5 with esports, and really understood it.
Yeah, my sister, she's into football, and I never really got it
until
I got into like esports, because I was like, these are just people that are good at what they do. Like, that's cool, but I don't get the hype. Yeah. But then it's like when you're actually there and everybody's just, losing it and going wild in the stadium, I got it then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what made it click for me. I feel really bad that I was, I was that girl that before TI, it was like,
that's
all right, you guys play those video games.
Yeah. Everybody starts somewhere, so.
Exactly. I'm totally converted now, right? Like, I'm totally converted. I believe in you. I obviously love esports now.
Yes. Making up for lost time.
Exactly.
So, what kind of differences are there from working at MCW as a general hospitality company to working full-time in esports at Beyond the Summit?
There's a lot of differences, actually. One, it's not full-service event. So you're full esports, which I never in a million years thought that this is my passion. I love being submerged into just esports. But, I mean, you go, again, from hosting a 16,000-person customer conference where you're learning how to use, our client's database to, handling 12, 16, 18 teams to fly around the world to, just compete in an esports tournament. And, it's the difference between MCW and BTS is BTS, there's, everybody there's my age, so we really connect on, we know and we understand esports, and that's what we're passionate about. But for MCW, it was really fun seeing the other side, the event side of technical programs, of, benefits, but that's more, I need to know how to lay the internet or chairs, and a lot of that does transfer over to BTS, but it's just in a very different environment and set up completely different. But, I mean, both of them are a lot of fun, and, I mean, but esports over, a technical conference, for me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's probably a little more exciting. And working with people, like, in your age group is also nice, too.
Yeah. And people that understand the scene as well. Like, it's hard. Like, I mean, not everybody can understand it, and that's totally fine. But it's really fun to be around the people that are as passionate and creative. And also it's a lot more personal there, too. You get to connect on that level. And plus with the teams, it's in a very very comfortable setting, and you know, it's a lot of fun, which is nice. You really get to know everybody a lot better than you would at, like, let's say TI or major.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a really good perspective. So how do you accommodate everyone's needs and tastes at events when you're taking care of people from so many different countries?
You don't.
I was wondering about that.
You don't. I mean, we can try. I mean, you do. There's ways that you can, but you don't. It's really hard. You're limited. I mean, we try everything that we can, but at the end of the day, like, I can't have you know, different types of food. I mean, I try to have as much variety in food as you can. Like, obviously, you don't want too much chicken. You want to put some beef and pork in there as well, but then you also want the healthy stuff. But at the end of the day, there's so many. You learn how to try to accommodate and try to mix, like, a little bit of A, a little bit of B, a little bit of C. But at the end of the day, you can't get everybody's perfect requirements. You know, and that's totally fine. But I mean, you learn how to set a good enough bar, or, like, you know, you can get that sweet spot of where they're happy, but I mean,
maybe it's not food from home, but
home. Like, I mean, there's a lot of trouble with, like, the Asian teens. Like, they really love authentic Asian food, and I physically cannot deliver that here, you know, but I'll try to do it as best as I can. However, I did get them into Buffalo Wild Wings this time.
Oh,
so
really?
I finally, because, you know, you always have people, whenever you travel anywhere, I mean, obviously you're stepping out of your comfort zone, and you might be a little bit skeptical to try other food, but this last summit, I was like, hey, screw it, y'all are eating the food that I bring. I would bring in, like, other Asian dishes, but they ended up loving it. They love churros, they love chicken wings,
That's
and it's
great.
wonderful. So we're getting there. But it is very difficult to accommodate everybody's needs, but we do our best.
Yeah. Well, you facilitated, like, a cultural mingling there.
Yes. Oh my God, it's so much fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. So when it comes to, like, requests and whatnot, have you had any strange or uncommon requests from players or talent that you could share? And you don't have to share names, of course, but anything out of the ordinary?
So this, actually, I wish so badly. Every single time, like, when I was working at MCW events, we had this intake program, and you would have a hotel input area, like a special request, and I've always wanted somebody to put in, like, some crazy request or whatever, or just, like, come up to me and say, Shannon, I'm not going to enter the house unless it's 82 degrees, or, you know, something else. Like, I've always wanted that. But there was one, and I think it was on accident. We were in Manila, and again, with that intake program, underneath that hotel area, it says special request, and one of the talent put, I only eat red, blue, and green M&Ms. And I don't think they knew that I was going to see that.
Oh my
so then when I got to Manila, before they checked in, I went out and bought a massive bag of M&Ms, and I sat down. I don't know if y'all know Joselle, but she's one of the spouses of a guy that works at Valve. So she and I sat down in her room. I got these 3 different bowls from the hotel, and we sorted out red, blue, and green M&Ms, and I had it waiting for him in his room because I had wanted somebody to do this so bad. But that's all I've gotten, and I wish that somebody would just give me that challenge of something just out of the ordinary, or something absolutely crazy that, you know, like, that I could hopefully deliver on. But
like, I need an exotic bird in my, you know, sitting next to my computer desk at all times.
I only drink Diet Coke out of a coconut, you know, something crazy. Like, I really want somebody to do that.
Oh, man, that's good. Well, you might
if anybody's watching, I would love to, like, you can't do it now, but I would have loved if somebody would just say something crazy.
Something to push your limits.
Yeah.
Well, you might get some. You might get more than one now. If someone
Maybe.
watches
Now
this and they're
cheating.
like, oh, well, now Shannon wants us to be difficult, so let's do it.
You know what? Throw your best shot my way. I'll try.
You'll have to keep us updated. So now that we kind of got to know a little bit of background about what you do, let's talk a little bit about you personally. So do you have any hobbies outside of working in esports, which that's a career, so.
That is pretty much a hobby because it's like 24/7.
Yeah.
Well, if you were to ask my roommates, it would be watching shitty reality TV, drinking wine, or sitting out on a patio and drinking a nice cold beer on a nice warm summer day, online shopping, you know.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about this with Grant the other day, and he's like, you call those hobbies? Like, what are you trying to do? No, you got to say, like, you know, you work at this, like, exotic animal sanctuary. Nobody's going to look it up and know that that's not your hobby. Like, just lie about it. I'm like, are you kidding me?
You gotta make up something fancy. No, that's fine.
Exactly.
Hey,
So
whatever
I'm a
you
very
do to have
chill,
fun.
hang out, relaxed person. If I get the chance to travel, I take it. But I'm very, very relaxed.
When, you said you traveled, so if you could travel anywhere for vacation, where would you like to visit?
So next on the list is New Zealand. My brother just moved there for a year, so while he's there, I have to go visit it. That's a no-brainer. Like, there's no way that I can't. But honestly, I would go anywhere and everywhere. I want to see everything that the world can show me. But really, anywhere that has an over-the-water bungalow. That's on my bucket list right now.
That sounds super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. There in New Zealand, when you go, there are these, what's the name? I watched this documentary called, like, Bird Brains, and there are these little chubby, big parrots that are native to New Zealand. They're, like, endangered, and they walk around mostly, so they just, like, walk around, and they, like, break into people's houses and stuff. They're super smart. So you have to take a picture of one if you see one, because they are so freaking cute. But they're like little, like, pudgy, big parrots, and they just, like, they're like, the locals, the documentary, they were like, these guys break into my house, and, like, they had a video of one walking in this guy's kitchen and, like, eating his margarine he, like, pulled it out of the fridge and stuff.
Out of all the things you can pull out of a fridge, it's a butter.
A bird after my own heart. Anyways,
my brother's seen any of those yet. He's actually living out of a van right now too.
Oh,
so.
Okay. Well,
we'll see if anybody, like, snuck on in there.
Yeah, that's very likely. They're super smart. Good documentary, by the way. But so when you joined BTS, you moved from Seattle to LA. What was that like, and which city would you prefer living in?
The move, that experience was a lot of fun. It was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. My mom and I drove down actually from Seattle to SoCal together. The minute I told her that I was moving, she goes, okay, well, I called down with you. Like, it's me. And I was like, okay. It was really fun. We saw my grandparents, my great-grandma, saw a lot of family on the way down. Of course, there's nothing, I don't think that a road trip is real without some car trouble. So we ran into some tire problems, air conditioning went out, luckily on the very last leg, like very end of the road trip. But the air conditioning did go out, and if it went out any earlier, I think I would have killed myself, or like my mom would have been like, okay, I'm jumping out now, I'm flying back, you're on your own. But it was fun. It was a little bit more difficult than I thought, because it actually took us about 4 months to find a place to live.
Oh, really?
So I was living out of a suitcase for a while, living out of the BTS house, the original BTS house. But so it was a little more difficult than I thought. It was a difficult transition just because I didn't have a home base, or somewhere to set my roots. But I'm a very firm believer that everything happens for a reason. So every day I was like, okay, since this house didn't work out, next one's going to be perfect. Like, and it ended up, being perfect. So it was difficult, but at this point, I've only been in the LA area. We're actually in Ontario. I've only been here for a couple months. So far, I still prefer Seattle, but that's only because I know Seattle. I was comfortable with it. It's very green, but I do love me some palm trees and warm weather. So once I start exploring more around here, I'm sure I'm going to love this more than Seattle.
Yeah, I haven't been to LA, or I haven't even been to California, but Seattle was gorgeous. It was just like the trees are so pretty. Like, they're completely different from the East Coast.
Everybody who goes to TI, they see Seattle in the most perfect time because it's not raining, because it does rain like all the other millions of days that there is in the year.
Yeah.
Like it's literally the week that TI is. It's perfect, and Seattle is the perfect city during that time. But yeah, I do love me some Seattle, but I do love me some SoCal. It's very nice to have the sunshine and not as much rain.
Yeah, a little sunshine always helps. How long do you get to visit Seattle often, or?
I just went up for TI. I think I'll probably go back for Christmas. And then who knows? Who knows when I'll go back?
So moving on, your love for sports is not limited to esports. I see on your Twitter that you follow other sports. What's your favorite sport to watch? I
really love the NFL. I love me some football. And obviously, I think y'all know, we have a really fun fantasy league.
I've seen some bets that have gone
There are
directions.
some bets.
Yes.
There are some bets. A certain Conrad came in last in our league last year and had to cosplay a hero of our choice. So he
naturally
the beautiful Queen of Pain.
Yes, I was actually quite impressed. Did he make that himself?
Too. He did. He and his girlfriend did. It was very last minute, apparently. He wasn't planning on doing it, and then we all called him out, like, hey, if you don't do this, like, we all agreed, well, then there's going to be some consequences. And I think he's thought, okay, this is going to be a lot easier and a lot less painful than dealing with the consequences that our lovely Commissioner Phil set up for him. So
I think he did pretty good, for sure.
He did really good. Yeah. I was proud.
So football. You follow basketball too, right?
I do a little bit, mainly college basketball, just because when I was growing up in Spokane, one of my best friends, Cassie, and her parents are alumni to Gonzaga, so we would go to Gonzaga games a lot. So it's really fun to support the hometown team, especially last year. I mean, they came very close. Thank you, refs. But it's really fun to see them grow. But yeah.
What's your favorite football team?
San Francisco 49ers.
All right.
That was not easy to follow. It was not easy to follow while I was in Seattle. The 12th man is rough. Those Seattle Seahawks 12th man, they are ruthless and competitive, and I appreciate it. But that rivalry, oh man, it was not easy to support them in Seattle. I worked at Red Robin for a while, and I had my server book had a 49ers like duct tape logo on it.
Oh, really?
I had 3 tables not tip me because I was a 49ers fan. They said, you'll get your tip when you become a Seattle Seahawks fan.
That's so mean.
Like, even though we had really fun banter, we were just going back and forth, just good old rivalry, and I thought we were having a lot of fun. We were laughing, and that was their tip.
Whoa, that's intense.
Yeah.
So they didn't tip you. It kind of seems like it's an excuse for them not to tip you. You know
Probably.
what I mean?
Let's be real here. But yeah, that was literally the tip. Until you become a Seattle Seahawks fan, there's no tip for you.
That's intense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you mentioned, of course, your dad works for Valve, and he's a composer and sound designer. So you talked about helping him a little bit sometimes with his work. Did you ever play any instruments or feel an urge to kind of follow in his footsteps and so to say and be involved in the music industry?
No, but yes. So when we were younger, my dad had my brother and I do piano lessons. I think we did that for about 2 or 3 years. And then when I was in 5th grade, he really wanted me to do band, so he picked out the flute for me, even though I really wanted to do saxophone. And I would have to practice a half an hour every single day. So even a friend would call up and be like, "Hey, come over." I'd be like, "Well, did you do your 30 minutes of practice yet?" I was like, "No." He goes, "Well, do it and then you can go." And so, and it's totally fair. I totally understand.
Yeah.
He was teaching discipline, and it was really fun. I enjoyed it while I did it. I did it for a year, and then the next year I was like, I think I'm cool, and I transferred actually over to choir because he's like, well, you have to do something. So I did that for a few years actually, but I do love music. It's fun to listen to. To make it, I'm really not that musically inclined, but I think we're just going to leave it to Papa Larkin to take care of from here on out.
Thank you, Papa Larkin. Can you still read sheet music? Because I completely lost it all.
I can't, and I'm actually really bummed. So I'm actually bummed that I didn't stick with piano. I think that would have been really cool to still know and be able to somewhat play, but I completely lost it, I think, within a year.
Yeah. I feel like instruments, you really have to keep practicing. It's not like riding a bike. You
no, it's not. You absolutely will.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's a really, really good skill to have, I think, and especially when you're that young, to be able to. It's like a different language. So when you're that young and learning how to read music, it's honestly like teaching you how to read a different language. And so I wish I kind of kept with this because maybe my math skills and science skills would have come a little bit easier, but there's no correlation.
So, as a last little tidbit about you, I heard that you do have another interesting hobby that is training a certain someone. Can you please tell us about that?
I do. So I have a rescue pet fish. Rescue because I bought it from Petco or PetSmart and rescued it from that little tiny bowl.
Yes, thank you for doing that.
His name is Susan, and I'm way too attached to this fish. I never thought in a million years, I've just become really emotionally attached to this fish. He's super cool. He's very smart, and everybody, until recently, denied it, and they thought I was crazy. Because every single time I keep his food in my drawer next to my desk, and literally every single time that I go to open it, you see him get super excited because he knows he's about to get fed. I kid you not. He's super smart. He knows who his mama is. Whenever I sit down, he comes right to the glass, where I'm sitting. He's super, super cool, super pretty. But recently, I read an article that you can train betta fish. So you can teach them how to jump. So I first started, and he got it instantly. So I was just holding food. At first I had him learn how to eat out of my fingers, which took a day. And then he just becomes comfortable with me. And now I held food outside of the water. He jumped up so fast for it. He is super food motivated. He's a fat little boy. But he's gaining some weight, and I need to cool down on the pellets, but I just get so excited that I keep giving him
positive reinforcement.
It's so fun, but I Snapchat him all the time. My Snapchat story is full of Susan videos and pictures. I treat him like a dog, but he literally will jump out of the water now. Whenever I go to feed him, he'll jump out of the water, and he's starting to catch the food out of the water now too.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. Next step is to put a hoop inside of the water. So apparently you put a hoop in the water and you put the food on the other side so when they get comfortable swimming through the hoop. And then you raise it and you raise it and you raise it until it's out of the water, and he'll learn how to jump out of the water and through the hoop.
Whoa.
So that's my next one.
That's intense.
He's super smart, and I'm super proud of my little boy, and I'm way too attached to this fish, and it's really crazy.
What colors is he?
He is blue, red, and a little bit of purple, but he's super pretty.
Betta fish are super pretty.
We'll put a mirror in front of him every now and again, because we were wondering if he was really a boy at one point. So apparently if you put a mirror in front of them, they think that they're seeing another male betta fish, and they flare up and get all crazy. Mm-hmm. So we did that, and we keep doing that every now and again because apparently it's healthy to so he'll get oh my god, pop up, and you'll see all of his colors. It's super pretty. And then he gets all frantic and all swim around his tank and act all aggressive. This is my he gets so aggressive, and it's pretty funny.
Aw, well that's so
he's my
cute.
He's my little dogfish, honestly.
Aw. Cute.
He's pretty fun.
We used to have a catfish, and he had little polka dots on him. He was a little chubster too, because he would only come out to eat at night. But
that's so funny.
He has since passed away. He was about 10 years old, so he was an old one. But
yeah. I know. I really hope that he lasts a long time. I was actually chatting with Danica. She sits next to me, and I think I came to terms because he comes up and he'll just sit next to where I sit in his tank. I have a pretty big tank for him too, and a lot of toys in there for him. He's spoiled. And I was like, I honestly will be really upset when he dies.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be really upset. Yeah. It's a fish. Like, why am I getting so emotionally attached to this fish? But I do. It's crazy. But actually, I got him right before the TI Hub. And everybody that met him when I first got him, everybody would threaten to eat him for some reason. Like, it's like their new sushi, or they'd barbecue him or fry him or something. I was like, you guys understand that it's a beta fish like this big? You're not going to get anything out of it. So they're like, oh,
one teeny bite.
Sushi. And so we actually had a counter every day at the TI Hub of how many days, or no, it actually ended up turning into the amount of hours it's been since somebody has threatened to eat Susan.
Poor
because
Susan.
everybody, oh my God, I was fearing for his life every time I left. For some reason, that was the thing.
How many times Susan's received death threats in the past 24 hours?
We should do that next time, honestly. Everybody at the office still does. It's crazy. Like, they'll still go, like, oh, don't, when you turn your back on them, I'm going to eat them. You guys, it's my pride and joy.
Yeah, Susan's like, I don't like this game.
Exactly, but he's becoming defensive. He'll know how to defend himself. He can get out of the water now.
He'll just jump out and flop away somewhere.
Exactly, he's good. He's golden. Next is probably gonna be how to defend yourself against a predator or something. Who knows?
Yeah, give him more like life advice training, so he can self-defense class.
Oh, my sweet Susan. Oh, I love him so much.
Aw, cute. You have to post a video of it on your Twitter.
I will. Once I get him through the hoop, I'm sure I will. But now, like, literally every single time, he'll just jump out of the water just to get food.
That's cool. So, let's talk a little bit more about hospitality and kind of like advice. So, for someone that works in the hospitality industry, what do you think are the top 3 most important traits for someone to be successful in that field?
Number 1, I would say organization. And that's because you are multitasking and juggling so many different things, and you're being pulled in every which way. You have to be organized in order to not let anything slip through the cracks, or, really to hold all the pieces together. So organization, I'd say, is number 1. Number 2, communication / people skills. And that's because you really need to be productive with your time, and having clear communication and understanding how people around the world work is very, very important to getting the job done. And that comes, again, you're dealing with everybody from around the world, so you need to learn how to properly communicate with them. Sometimes you need to figure out how you can even communicate with them, because, you'll need translators sometimes. And then from there, you kind of have to figure out, like, okay, are they understanding what I'm trying to say? So now you kind of have to simplify your sentence or what you're trying to get across, so then they make sure they understand what you're asking or what you're telling. So that's definitely very, very important. Number 3, patience. Patience is absolutely key, especially with these boys. They will test your patience, and and it's totally fine, but you just have to be very gracious with them and understanding, and especially not only patience with the teens or the talent, it's with vendors or anybody you're communicating with, because sometimes you really don't understand that they might be in the weeds as well with a tournament they might be running, or with other clients. So you really have to understand, like, okay, they're busy, so I'm gonna let them do their thing. They're gonna get back to me when they can. So how can I keep my job going while I'm still waiting on this information? So patience is absolutely key in this situation, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds really important, especially when you're juggling so many things at once and you're working with so many different parties involved, and
exactly,
not everybody, like you said, is on the same page all the time, especially if they're from different countries.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
So What about like backgrounds and experience? What kind of experience is important to getting into that kind of industry, if any?
That's a hard question, only because I mean I didn't really have much experience. I just kind of fell into it. And if you talk to a lot of event or esports workers, you'll notice that they all like their story is I fell into it. I just knew the right people or the right timing. But honestly, the best skill or something that'll prepare you is working in the service industry. So I would say either service or retail. I think that should be required anyways for anybody, just to be a human being.
Yes.
And like I did 4 or 5 years of restaurant work, and that just teaches you, one, how to be a decent human being, and two, how to handle very tough situations, very quick situations, how to handle different types of people. So it really teaches you more than I think you would expect, and it's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I was going
if
to bring
anybody's
that
trying
up.
to get into hospitality or any type of any work, honestly, go to a restaurant, go to a retail shop or something, because you're going to learn a whole hell of a lot about yourself during that time.
Yes,
and
yes,
other people.
you will. You will hit rock bottom for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's true.
It's worth it.
Yeah, because working. Because I guess in a sense hospitality is very similar, because you're taking care of people, you're trying to make sure that they are having a good time, you're trying to make sure that they have what they need, what they want, at a proper time. So that's actually a really interesting parallel there, and how that translates onto like a grander scale.
Oh yeah.
Very interesting.
That's
I didn't think about that.
Fun. Yeah, service or retail industry, that'll really prepare you.
It teaches you patience. That is for sure. Or it doesn't. It either breaks you or it teaches you patience.
Oh yeah, I think more the latter, but I think it's a very valuable thing to learn.
Yeah, and you said you did 5 years of working in a restaurant, right?
I did, about 5 years. I did 4 years at Red Robin, and then about a year at Shakey's Pizza was actually my very first job.
Oh, wow. Red Robin. That's the burger joint, right?
Sure is.
Did they have that goat cheese mac and cheese?
No, not when I was there.
I went to one. It was a long time ago. It was the first and last time I went there, because I was like a kid and I was like, "Ooh, mac and cheese!" And I like dug into it and I'm like, I was like, "Goat cheese! Oh God, what is this?" My mom's like, "Oh, that's goat cheese." I'm like, "What's goat cheese? What am I eating?" Yeah, that wasn't very good. But
I'm not a huge goat cheese person, honestly, so I sympathize with you.
Yeah, goat cheese is an acquired taste, that's for sure.
It is. It is.
So, for people that might want to get into it, what kind of hours do you work? What are the typical hours during the event that you're working and in the planning stages?
That, it depends. So when you're kind of like on the planning stages or off stages, like you really want to dig down, like settle down and really dig into your whatever work you need to do to prepare, and really just focus on working at your computer. So that's usually about like a 10 to 5 type of job. But it depends on the event. So when you get closer to the event, the hours get longer because you're working on more details. If you're working on an international event, that one was a lot more difficult for me. I would be working on U.S. time or like Seattle time, and then waking up later in the night to work on EU time, or in the later of the night to make sure that things are in the Philippines are getting done. So sometimes you're working on international time zones, or just kind of messing up your sleep schedule just to make sure that things are getting done. When you get to the event, you're the first one there and the last one out. So you are in early and you are out very late. You get a few hours of sleep sometimes, but I mean, you just kind of rush and you run and the adrenaline kicks in. So you don't really need the sleep. I mean, you do, but I mean, you learn to work on it. Yeah, you learn to work, but it's long. It's long hours, and it's not as glamorous as people think. It's a lot of fun, and we make it look a lot of fun, and we make it look easy because that's what you're supposed to do. You're not allowed to see them. You can't see me sweat. That's my slogan is you don't want to see you sweat. but it's a lot of hours. It's long. It takes months in advance to pull this off, and you gotta put in the time to make sure that everything is perfect. So devils are in the details, so you gotta really, really take your time and make sure that everything's there and everything's planned and everything is secure.
Yeah, for sure. When thinking about, so an event takes place in just a few days normally. Mm-hmm. So would you say, I mean, I guess it depends on the event, but for like a not an international event, for something that would say take place in the U.S., mm-hmm. would you start planning that like 6 months in advance, or?
Preferably.
Yeah, preferably.
Preferably, yeah. I'd say about 6. 6 is the sweet spot. Okay. But sometimes that's just not possible. I mean, it depends on when contracts go through, when a venue is selected, because that's when my job comes in. Once we have the venue, the area selected, that's when I jump into gear. That's when I start looking and poking around, finding hotel blocks or contracts. It's, putting the budgets together or trying to see, okay, well, where are the flights going to be going to? How am I going to get them from the airport to the hotel? Mm-hmm. So usually you do want as much time as you can and beforehand to make sure that you get everything in that time, that sweet spot, that 6 months time mm-hmm. frame, to make sure that you have everything put together. But something like here, like it's like BTS, like we usually pretty much put that together within a few months. Of course, it always depends on when qualifiers are too, because you can't exactly get qualifiers 6 months out. You have to get them about a month out or, 2 months out. And that's when all the rush kind of kicks in, because you want to get everybody booked and ready to go as soon as you can, especially to get great prices on everything, on flights and stuff. So, mm-hmm. And to get those confirmations, because my favorite subject of visas is always that little problem that you got to get everything confirmed for the players, so then they can get that yeah. sweet little ticket on over.
Yeah, visas, we talked about that a bit on the manager episode. Nobody liked the visas. Nobody was a fan of that process.
No, not at all.
Do you usually work with you work with a team, but do you usually handle a lot of the organizing yourself, or do you delegate a lot?
I do a lot of the organizing myself. Flights, I usually delegate to different different agencies. Mm-hmm. So then that's one thing that I don't want to mess up, or that I just it's very time consuming too, that I should be spending on other details and other planning and making sure that the teams are happy. So that is the one thing that I really make sure to delegate on. But everything else is, I do myself.
Wonder Woman right there. I don't blame you for not wanting to do the flights. Sounds very time consuming for so many different players and personalities and their managers.
Yeah. Especially when you get up to like about 300 people coming, that's when you got you pushing on somebody else, please.
Yeah. Please take this off my plate. All right. Oh. So what about tools that you use? What are the most important tools, programs, strategies that help you organize these events?
We use a lot of Google Docs. Here at BTS, we love our Google Docs. We have a lot of them. Not too many, but enough to make sure that everything. I'm a very visual person, so I like to have stuff visualized and typed out, so I can easily pull up schedules or flights or literally any type of information I'll ever need. So the internet and Google Docs are my best friends. We at MCW used an awesome program called Cvent, and that's this whole registration intake program that takes whatever questions that I need, and it just holds it into this database, which was really cool, and you can pull reports whenever you need it. So I would say Cvent, the internet, and Google Docs is really your biggest thing, and to-do lists. I am still one of those people that write down to-do lists. I need to write something in order to remember what I feel like, or really understand it, see it, but that's my top.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good. I mean, write it down, keep track of it. You don't want to forget any details as small, even if it's something tiny.
Oh, yeah.
And Google Docs is great because you can access it anywhere. So if you forget
Exactly.
your notebook at home, no worries, it's on
It's a
Google Docs.
lifesaver. Oh my God. I can't
Yeah.
even tell you like how many times I've gone from work and then sometimes I'll email the document to myself or something, but
Hmm.
um, just being able to log in online and just pick up where you left off. Oh my God, it's a lifesaver.
Yeah, for
Especially
sure.
when something happens in the middle of the night or whatever and you just need to reference it real fast. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Do you get a lot of calls in the middle of the night? Like from different time zones or whatnot? Do you run into
Depends.
that a lot? Or
It
does it
could, I
depend on the time of year?
I have. It depends on where you're running the event. Like international events, yes, I get calls all the time in the middle of the night. And that's kind of because I set the precedence of, you can call me in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
If that's what needs to get done, absolutely, by all means, here's my phone number.
Hmm.
Um, there are some, like, especially travel days. Travel days are the days that I barely, like, I have a hard time sleeping because I have my phone on full blast. I feel like something's going to happen. I need to be awake or I need to be easily awake that, in case something happens, I can be reached and figure it out. But yeah, those have happened before.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's all good.
so it's like you're on call usually around like event time,
Yes.
basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The minute the first player steps on a plane is when it's like, or not even like a few hours before or so, like when you know they're about to head to the airport and get on their flight.
Yeah.
From there on out, it's event mode.
Pretty hardcore. So what do you wish people knew about your job? Because you do work behind the scenes. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize all the work that goes into it, or even that a thing like esports hospitality exists.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that?
It's a lot of work. I know that everybody, they see me on the front end a lot. They don't see the back end work that we do, and it's really, really fun. I love interacting with everybody. But that interaction came from, only getting 3 hours of sleep the night before because I need to make sure that A, B, and C were done or corrected. But it's a lot of work. It's long hours, but the reward is so worth it, and it's so much fun. I think that I'm one of the luckier ones with my job because you meet a lot of fun people, and
Mm-hmm.
you get to interact with really, really cool people, and it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of hard work, and
Yeah.
it's very detail oriented. So if you can't do details, then this is not the thing for you.
So you think, so you wish the masses would understand or maybe show a little more appreciation for all the work that goes into the preparation?
I guess, yeah. And it's not just for me, it's for all of us. Like, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into these events. Like, these are our babies. And, um, when the moment somebody starts poking at it, it's like, oh, like, you guys don't understand, like, what we did to, like, get this going. Or,
Yeah.
we tried so hard. But, I mean, obviously, there's got to be some people that just like to poke.
There's always a critic, that's for
There
sure.
always is. And you know what? Just gotta let it roll off your back. Take it with a grain of salt and
Yeah.
figure out how to do it better the next time.
Yeah. Well, to end on a positive note, what is your favorite part about working in the industry?
My favorite part is when we go live. There's nothing like hearing and feeling the crowd react to the moment they see what's happening, the moment they figure out what the event is, or that's the moment we all can kind of breathe. It's that moment where the stream goes live, you see the players kind of getting ready, getting in the element, warming up, their adrenaline's pumping, your adrenaline is pumping, and there's honestly nothing like it. Like, especially when in the bigger tournaments, like being on the floor and just hearing the crowd and feeling the crowd, it gives me goosebumps every single time I think about it. Like, it's just something that you did it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. That's your reward. You've done it. Like, it's just that feeling. But even like here at BTS, it's like, okay, you're putting that countdown timer on, it strikes 0, the talent are rushing to get on the couch, and it's just like, okay, their microphone cords are behind their back, the players are going upstairs, like, okay, we are happy, we're live, let's do this. Like, it's on now let's push out the content, push out the fun. That's when you can kind of breathe and know that, okay, whatever happens from here on out is just going to happen. But that's my favorite thing, is just that moment when you go live. It's just, there's nothing like it.
All those months of work just kind of bloom.
And all the people that you get to meet too. I've met some really, really cool people. I met some really cool people around the world. The teams are really fun to get to know. The talent are really fun to get to know. It's a really cool industry. It's fun to see how the community interacts with them, how they interact with the community. It's also fun to see other esports and how their communities work too. It's been a lot of fun getting to know them and seeing not just Dota. However, I promise I will always be the Dota mom. I'm never going to betray my boys. I won't leave you, but I mean, the other games are really, really fun. They've been really fun to get to know.
Yeah, it sounds like a blast. It sounds super interesting. And thank you so much for coming on to the show and talking to us about it.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
Yes.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. It was very enlightening to see a little more about what goes on behind the scenes, and I'm sure more people will appreciate all the work that goes into it, anybody that sees this.
It's so fun.
Yes, and thank you to everyone that tuned in, and we'll be uploading the VOD of this onto YouTube and Twitch within the next few days after we trim it and all that. And we will be having an episode next month as well. Please follow us on Twitter to get updates about Desoladies. It's twitter.com/Desoladies, and please also check out Shannon's Twitter. You can see it below her, this way, her picture. And after this, I will be hosting a wonderful group called Cast Together, which is a community of streamers dedicated to mental health advocacy and suicide prevention. So they're doing a kickoff stream right now for their group, so please check them out. And everyone have a great night. Thank you for tuning in.